final passage is our A-B set, passage A, sketching out a big picture description of theoretical principles at work. The principle of justice in acquisition, the principle of justice in transfer, and then the principle of rectification, which would solve the problem of the imperfect world in which we live. Passage B then takes all those theoretical ideas and makes them concrete with the Indian Non-Intercourse Act, which does not mean what you think it means. It instead means that we're trying to enforce that principle of transfer justly. And passage B ending by saying the original wrong would be most easily righted by just giving land back. Maybe impractical, maybe we're not going to do it, but that would be the easiest, simplest way. All right, let's talk about questions. The main purpose for A and the main purpose for B. A is written in order to describe these principles. B is written in order to describe how those principles work in a specific instance. Hey, look at answer choice B, exactly what we said. Question 23, something that is mentioned in both passages, and that transfer of property probably came to just from that main big picture point assessment. But obviously in line 6, we talk about the principle of justice and transfer, and in passage B in line 38, we talk about transfers of land. Transfer of property is talked about in both passages. 24, the relationship between A and B, and A presents us with the theory of the principle of rectification. B presents us with a specific situation in which that principle is at work. Answer choice D. A gives us a theory that tends to support the argument in the second paragraph of B. The theory, rectification, the argument. You could just give the land back. That would be easy. Question 25, exactly the same as question 24. Again, what do we know? Passage A gives us the principles for doing a thing. Passage B gives us a specific means of dealing with a specific thing. Answer choice E, the first title, Fundamentals of Building Construction, the principles for doing it. Passage B, the repairs needed by the Thales building, the specific way we're going to do the thing. 26 seems like a weird question to ask. How would passage A think of the Non-Intercourse Act? The way that passage B described it as a means of requiring that all transfers be fair. It is D, the prevention of violations of the principle of transfer. Finally, question 27, which is exactly the same as 25, which was exactly the same as 24. And what is the relationship between A and B? A is general principles, B is specific action. And the only thing that I didn't like about it, and I didn't like this, is that in answer choice A, passage B sketches an argument that it does not necessarily endorse. Now, that doesn't say that it sketches an argument that it does not endorse, just that it does not necessarily endorse. And we get enough evidence for that claim when the author says, line 56, for example, ideally the land should be restored to its rightful owners, but this may be impractical. Compromises might have to be made. We may not be able to do it, but the simplest way would be to give the land back. So when you say that it would be ideal, when you say that however compromises may need to be made, you are saying, I don't necessarily endorse this. I'm not saying it's wrong, but I'm also not pushing hard for it. I'm saying it is ideal. I'm saying that, it would be great, but we may need to make compromises. And I say all that because I really would have preferred it to have just said what I said, which is A, passage A espouses a general view without providing details. Yes, general principles. And B provides a more detailed view. That stuff about not necessarily endorsing just made it not as attractive. And that's the case sometimes, but God, how often? Not often. Because over and over, our answers have been exactly the same, just based on the passage. Anyway, that brings this passage and this section to a close.